Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump right into this totally mind-blowing revelation about Google's new Dr. LLM system. Today, we're diving into a recent, highly detailed study that is fundamentally challenging literally everything we thought artificial intelligence could do in the medical world. For the longest time, we've thought of AI as just this helpful little background tool. But as you're about to see, the role of the machine in the consultation room is shifting in a way that's going to revolutionize how we think about our own healthcare.
Now, you'd probably assume that AI just can't handle the messy, emotional reality of human patients. People naturally think a computer can't replicate bedside manner, intuition, or that human touch, right? Well, this explainer is going to show you exactly how Google just proved that assumption entirely wrong. The data we're looking at today is absolutely staggering, and it challenges the very core of what we value in a physician.
All right, let's dive into Section 1. Meet your new AI doctor.
To figure out just how capable this AI has actually become, researchers knew they couldn't just throw standard text prompts or multiple choice questions at it. No, they needed to put Google's Dr. LLM to the absolute ultimate test against real, flesh and blood human physicians in a simulated real-world environment. So they set up this incredibly rigorous, randomized clinical exam. We're talking 100 different clinical scenarios mapped out across 300 live video consultations. And they didn't just use text. They actually brought in professional patient actors trained to simulate real complex cases, everything from cardiac complaints to musculoskeletal injuries. To make sure the judging was completely impartial enough to strict medical standards, they had 20 board-certified physicians carefully grade every single encounter.
Which brings us to Section 2, the head-to-head results, man versus machine.
Okay, so the judges evaluated both groups totally blindly, meaning they were looking purely at the quality of care without knowing if they were grading a human or a computer. And guys, it wasn't even a close race. The AI doctors absolutely trounced the human doctors in the overall clinical score. The AI came in at a highly impressive 83%, while the experienced human doctors scored just 68%. In the medical field, a 15-point gap in overall clinical performance is literally massive. It completely redefines the baseline for what constitutes good care.
But it gets even crazier. Think about nailing the correct diagnosis on the very first try. That is arguably one of the most critical metrics in all of medicine, right? Well, the AI significantly outperformed the humans here too. We're looking at a wide 14-point margin, 91% for the AI compared to just 77% for the humans. The AI is simply seeing the right answer faster and more accurately right out of the gate. Now, here's the real shocker, the thing almost nobody saw coming. The AI was actually perceived as more empathetic than the human doctors. No way, right? But the AI scored an 82 in empathy versus the doctor's 71. And keep in mind, this wasn't graded by casual observers. The board of evaluating physicians, humans themselves, found the machine's responses to be more considerate, patient, and empathetic than their own peers. And just to add a little insult to injury here, the human doctors actually took longer to reach their arguably worst conclusions. The humans averaged 9.3 minutes per consultation, while the AI wrapped things up in a speedy 8.9 minutes. So not only is the AI more accurate, and not only is it graded as more empathetic, but it's also way more efficient with its time.
All right, let's transition to Section 3, the follow-up visit test, dealing with evolving symptoms.
So the AI is great on the first date, right? It can handle a clean initial presentation. But medicine is messy. What happens when a patient comes back multiple times with shifting symptoms and changing lab results? It's rarely a one-and-done scenario. Well, in a test with 3 appointments per patient, where specialists rated the management plans, the AI gets remarkably better over time. It starts incredibly strong at a 95% appropriateness rating on the first visit, and as it gets updated info, it reaches a near-perfect 98% by the 3rd visit. Meanwhile, the human doctors start at 72% and just kind of cap out at 81% after all 3 visits. The gap doesn't close. It actually widens. So what's really happening here? The crucial point is that human doctors often think, aha, I found the root issue, and then they back off way too soon. They lock into a diagnosis, and their performance actually stagnates as new information comes in because they stop looking for alternate answers. The machine, though, it has zero ego. It takes in every single new variable without bias, constantly updating its baseline. It literally learns and improves with every single follow-up. Moving right along to Section 4, dealing with deceptive patients, adversarial scenarios. Let's be real. As anyone in healthcare knows, patients are not always perfectly cooperative. They lie, they hide their habits, they self-diagnose, or they straight up argue with the doctor.
Google specifically wanted to test the AI against thousands of scenarios where the patient actors did exactly that. These actors actively hid their medications. They aggressively insisted their severe chest pain was just some bad heartburn. They outright refused to go to the emergency room. And they engaged in up to 60 back-and-forth conversation turns, constantly pushing back just to see if the AI would break or lose its patience. To handle this incredibly messy, unpredictable human reality, Google couldn't just rely on basic programming. They utilized reinforcement learning, running the AI through a staggering 57,000 simulated encounters just to make it practice. 57,000! Over and over again, they threw the hardest, most stubborn, deceptive fake patients at the system so it could continuously refine its approach and learn exactly how to coax out the truth safely. And the results of all that intense, repetitive training? This newly trained, battle-hardened AI was so ridiculously good that when they put it up against the original AI, the one that had already trounced the human doctors earlier, it beat it a whopping 87.6% of the time in head-to-head reviews. This technology isn't just better than humans at this point, it is rapidly compounding its own capabilities. It's breaking its own records. Which brings us to our final section, the future of healthcare, and this rapidly growing gap. So the gap between AI and human doctors is clearly growing, and we aren't seeing the ceiling just yet. To understand our future here, we really have to understand the core nature of this technology. See, AI is probabilistic, not deterministic. What does that actually mean? Well, a deterministic system is hard-coded to give the exact same output every single time you press a button. But probabilistic AI gives highly likely answers based on complex patterns. That makes it incredibly smart and adaptable. But because of that probabilistic nature, it can still glitch or hallucinate. And that limitation is exactly why we won't just be walking into a hospital and talking to a lone iPad on a terminal. Think of it kind of like commercial self-flying planes. They can absolutely fly themselves on autopilot, sure, but we still require human pilots sitting right there in the cockpit to catch catastrophic failures or system glitches if the computer starts doing something crazy. The exact same model applies to medicine. AI doctors will be doing the heavy lifting of diagnosing patients, but we will absolutely require human-assisted doctors acting as the essential safety net to catch any of those probabilistic hallucinations. The trajectory here is absolutely crystal clear. In just a few short years, the medical standard will inevitably shift to human-assisted AI doctors. This transition promises to give us the extraordinary, highly accurate, and incredibly empathetic healthcare we all want, even if getting from here to there causes a massive, tumultuous economic event in the medical industry. The way we receive care is changing forever. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought straight from the data we just explored. If a doctor decides to ignore an AI's correct diagnosis, insists on their own wrong path because of human ego or simple error, and a patient gets hurt, will that soon become the ultimate medical malpractice? As the AI continues to learn and improve, the cost of ignoring it might just become way too high for any physician to risk. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this brought some serious clarity to the wild future of medicine, and I'll catch you on the next one.